and the lame man leap as an art. But such is not the state of this case. As an American citizen, born here on American soil, I say it with a sad sense of the disparity between us. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you, this day, rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice. I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems is inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? Oh, let me warn you that it is dangerous to copy the example of a nation whose crimes were thrown down by the breath of the Almighty, burying that nation in irrevocable ruin. So today, I take up the painful, plaintive lament of a peeled and woe-smitten people. Above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions. Millions whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday, are today rendered even more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. If I do forget, if I do not faithfully remember those bleeding children of sorrow this day, may my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To permit myself to forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular theme would be treason most scandalous and would make me a reproach before God and the world. I shall see this day and its popular characteristics from the slave's point of view. I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and conduct of this nation never looked more heinous to me than on this 4th of July. Whether we turn to the declarations of the past or to the professions of the present, the conduct of this nation seems equally hideous and revolting. America is false to the past, false to the present, and solemnly binds herself to be false to the future. Standing with God and the crushed and bleeding slave on this occasion, I will, in the name of humanity, which is outraged, in the name of liberty, which is fettered, in the name of the Constitution and the Bible, dare to call into question and to denounce with all the emphasis I can command everything that serves to perpetuate slavery. The great sin and shame of America, I will not equivocate. I will not excuse. What point in the anti-slavery creed would you have me argue? On what branch of the subject do the people of this country need light? Must I undertake to prove that the slave is a man? That point is conceded already. The slaveholders themselves acknowledge it in the enactment of laws for their government. They acknowledge it when they punish disobedience on the part of a slave. There are 72 crimes in the state of Virginia, which, if committed by a black man, subject him to the punishment of death, while only 2 of the same crimes will subject a white man to the like punishment. Now, what is this but the acknowledgement that the slave is a moral, intellectual, and responsible being? When you can point to any such laws in reference to the beasts of the field, then I may consent to argue the manhood of the slave. When the dogs the fowls of the air, when the cattle on your hills, the fish of the sea, and the reptiles that crawl shall be unable to distinguish the slave from a brute, then will I argue with you whether or not the slave is a man. Is it not astonishing that while we are plowing, planting, reaping, using all kinds of mechanical tools, erecting houses, constructing bridges, building ships, working in metals of brass, iron, copper, silver, and gold, while we are reading, writing, and ciphering, acting as clerks, merchants, and secretaries, having among us lawyers, doctors, ministers, poets, authors, editors, orators, and teachers, while we are engaged in all manner of enterprise common to other men, acting, thinking, planning lives, living in families as husbands, wives, children, and above all, confessing and worshiping the Christian's God, looking hopefully for life and immortality beyond the grave, we are called upon to prove that we are men. Would you have me argue that man is entitled to liberty? That he is the rightful owner of his own body? Must I argue the wrongfulness of slavery? How should I look today in the